I know it looks a little bit different here on my side of the camera, but we finally have everything going a little bit differently, and I'm excited about the changes we have. Okay, as you can see, a little bit of a nice red light in the background. We've got some things off to the side here that I'm showcasing, but this isn't about me, my new setup. This is about the AFC Championship game. What can the Chiefs do? What will they do to prevent a back-to-back win from the Cincinnati Bengals and make them 3-0 in AFC Championships in their history as an organization? Welcome back to RGR Football. And a wild Ryan Tracy appears. Would you look at that?
I've been called worse. You never know what's going to happen. How are y'all doing, Dan? It looks great. I'm really excited about that.
We're going to have to leave this down here like this, even though I am not at Ryan Tracy NFL. You guys can kind of figure out which Twitter handle is yours. We're just going to have to keep it this way. Oh, hey, look at that. Would you look at that? We can actually switch it around a little bit. Welcome, everybody. This is the Game Plan. Ryan and I are back because this is the AFC Championship game. Like, this is what it's all come down to. I don't know how many people at that 3 and 4 stage thought they were going to get back into this scenario. I wasn't one of them. I can tell you for a fact that I did not think they would, but I'm excited that we're here and the Chiefs are here. And this is really just icing on the cake for me. I just, like I said, I thought they weren't going to get here. So how was your day, Ryan?
It's been a heck of a week, I will tell you that. And I'm pumped because not only do you look great, and I like the atmosphere, I'm sure it'll continue to evolve too. But this is kind of your baby, and I like that you're running the show, and I'm just here as fluff, to tell you the truth. So I'm going to make a little fluff. It's fitting that this happened today, because today would have been Trez Paler's 38th birthday, and I do want to shout him out. And I want to give you guys an opportunity. You can go get this at the links that we always provide, because Trez is still with us, whether he's in person or not. He helped a lot of people. They named his successor, who got a scholarship from the Mizzou School of Journalism. Very, very cool. So check him out as well. And today's just a day. So cheers to Trez.
My daughter has found her way into the office, the new office. Avery, can you come over here, please? She's in the light. Did you go to the bathroom? Is that what you're in here for?
Yes.
It happens.
Okay. Thank you. Can you go back downstairs, please? Go put some clothes on.
This is why the camera angle is now narrower, right?
Yeah, no. This way, you guys don't always get everything that happens in here. Avery, can you please go downstairs? Okay, come here.
You got to do those things. Folks, I want to tell you, too, that we're brought to you today, again, by DraftKings. They have a really super special thing going right now because they are the official betting partner of the NFL. So they're giving us 56-1 odds if you go sign up with them. And it helps us because they support us. If you support them, that always goes a long way. You can use our code RGR21. I don't have the graphic with me today, but all you got to do is put down a $5 deposit and they'll match it. And then you get the RGR21 code will get you all that 56 odds. That percentage really goes a long way. You just got to play $1 if you want to get into it. It's super easy. You got to be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania. Everybody else, it's for new customers. $5 deposit is required. So is the $1 bet, but per customer, restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. And if you do have a gambling problem, please 1-800-GAMBLER. That will help you. Now that I got that out of the way, is everybody dressed again?
Yeah, right. She's out of the room. We're all good to go. She decided that she just needed a hug. So, dad things you got to do. And we do have our first super chat. Any of you that are new, if you feel the need or the want to donate to us, that's incredible. We always appreciate the support. And one of our regulars in here, Chad Johnson, thank you so much for the support, man. Glad you both made it. Glad you're looking forward to this, because this is what I'm looking forward to, this game. This about how this whole thing matches up to be kind of a revenge tour. Not so much the Steelers, because they didn't ever stand a chance against the Chiefs, if we're being honest. The first game they didn't. Second.
Well, it looks like we had a little dropout. I thought it was maybe me because you guys know how my internet goes, but yeah. The revenge tour is certainly something that we have to continue to get going, because I don't think it's purposeful. I don't think it's the team saying, okay, we have to go back out and get them. But it is nice that it kind of sets up that way, right? So, Chad, thank you for that super chat. Really appreciate it. Dan will jump back in here when he gets reconnected, but it's just a continuation. And for them, the revenge is a side factor, I feel, because their goal is to get back to that Super Bowl and win it. That's the ultimate revenge, is getting another championship. So this is a stepping stone, yes, but it's not somebody that they feel that they have to crush for emotional reasons or anything like that. It's yeah, Sean, it's not mine this time. You never know how that happens, but looks like we're back.
I don't know what happened. That's the first time that my internet has ever acted up in the middle of a stream, and it's probably all because we decided to switch things out and actually make it look good.
It's my fault. Here, let's put you back where you belong. There we go.
No, it's fine. We're good. We were actually switched like that before we started.
You all know who we are. You don't need our graphics.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So thank you, Chad. Appreciate you.
Yes, very much. Thank you. The one thing I think everyone's talked about, we'll talk about it a little bit, because the last game that they played, Jamar Chase tore up the Kansas City Chiefs defense, one-on-one situations. Joe Burrow was like sitting back in his pocket, knowing he was getting blitzed and pressured, and then he was like, hey, I've got one-on-one coverage on the outside. I'm going to throw it up to whoever is out there. And it just always happened to be Jamar Chase, going for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So my personal opinion, this is where you have to start the game. You have to allow the defense to figure things out. Your best athlete, L'Jarius Sneed, has to play probably most of his snaps against Jamar Chase, in my opinion. I know there's been some playing around with the idea from Steve Spagnuolo, kind of giving some gamesmanship on his side that they could go that way. If they don't, then you're going to probably see him bracketed all game and then have Sneed in the slot like they do. But this is a Bengals team that is the majority of the time 13 or 11 personnel, and they want that tight end and those 3 wide receiver sets. So if this was your game plan for the defense, outside of the obvious putting Sneed on Jamar Chase, what do you think is the best course of action to contain this Bengals offense?
I'll tell you this. I think what we saw, especially the way that they complete passes the last time these two teams played, it was to the outside along the boundaries. So, I agree. I would have Snead travel with him everywhere he goes. He'd be in his hip pocket. You are his shadow. I would also put Armani Watts over the top, and I'd be in dime on third down pretty much all the time, because then you have the guy that can run with him. You also have the guy that can just creep and try to take that ball away. That's what I would do.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, considering even against in run blocking, their offensive line isn't that great. So you shouldn't have to deal with so much running the ball in situations where the like other teams, for example, the Bills finally got that going. Like they wanted to run the ball a little bit more. So if they saw dime, they would just run Josh Allen to it and say, okay, fine, that's what we're going to do. You can't do that with this Bengals offensive line and with Joe Burrow, who they don't want to get hurt even more than he did last year. So dime is probably going to be something we see a little bit more in this game. And that really is Steve Spagnuolo's bread and butter. It's how they won the Super Bowl. So I think that this is an idea for them to be able to actually settle that down, get some of their best players on the field in key situations, and hopefully hold Jamar Chase and this passing offense to a minimum. The last 2 games, Joe Burrow hasn't eclipsed 40 pass attempts. That's a key for me too, even though he went 358 yards against the Titans. They scored 19 points. I think it's something you can look forward to. This defense did get tore up by Josh Allen, but Josh Allen's a bit of a different breed. And Joe Burrow's good, but you don't have to worry about him running. So they can commit more assets to actually the pass protection. And
if Joe runs, I am the happiest guy in the world. Willie Gay is waiting for you, Joseph.
All right.
Bandwagon Dallas Texans fan. We appreciate you. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry. I'm old mode.
It's fine. I was just going to say thank you for the super chat. Who is your go-to person to guard Chase? And I think we just talked a little bit off the top. We would both use L'Jarius Sneed as our go-to guys. Like, perfect. I would just put him on him and then say, okay, make T. Higgins be the guy that beats you. He can, but he's not Jamar Chase.
Yeah. I mean, it leaves you a little bit bereft for Boyd, because if you have him outside, then that means Higgins is going to draw Ward on the other side. And we started Ward travel a little bit this year, and I think he's capable of that. But then that brings now you're weak in the nickel, unless Fenton is 100%. And then I'm perfectly fine with it because Fenton can jam Boyd all day long. I think the physique there and the style of play matches up pretty well.
I agree. And I think that makes it's an ideal spot for me. I think if you can make Boyd, who's not really known for his physicality, take some of that timing away from Burrow and make Boyd and Higgins be the two guys that have to beat your press coverage and your physicality. Definitely Higgins is more apt to doing that because of his frame and things like that. But I do think that Chase is the one guy that breaks this game open for you. If you can contain him, you have a very good chance of containing Joe Burrow. So let's go ahead and talk one more super chat. Thank you guys very much for the support on this Friday evening. I know it's not easy for everybody to get here on a Friday night, but we have nearly 200 guys and people in the chat. That's awesome. Thank you, Junior. How good are the Bengals compared to the Bills from the 2001 AFC Championship game? Don't forget to drop the line, yo. For me, the Bills were a different animal in the sense that Josh Allen was still a running quarterback. Like, it's a different kind of stylistically in terms of what they want. But their rushing element with the Bengals is Joe Mixon. So we all knew that the Bills weren't going to sit back and run the ball when you give them favorable looks. That's what the Chiefs did. And they played dime against them, and they just shut them down. In this sense, the Bengals will still try to run the ball because they do have Joe Mixon. They have the ability to want to rush the football. If you look back to earlier in the season, before Joe Burrow said, look, this is my team, I'm going to throw the ball all over the yard, they tried to establish the run quite frequently with Joe Mixon. So they measure up differently. I think that this Bengals team is probably a little, if we're talking like tiers, we have the Bills last year, and I think you have the Bengals like right here of this year, right below them in terms of where I would say their lethality is.
Here's the thing. The problem is, I agree with you in principle, but the matchup specific with the Chiefs, that's their best offensive output all season.
Mm-hmm.
You saw, like you said last week, they're actually playing, I think, better football as a team. They only put up 19 points. So it's kind of a back and forth. It's just the way that Chase matches up with the corners, particularly Ward, but others as well. I think it's also the fact that, we didn't see the adjustment. I think Spags is aware of that. I know several people close to the team that actually have some contacts in there that are willing to speak this week, unlike me, that think that there's a significant chance that Spags tries to Spags again and leave it and do what he does. If that happens, then you have to seriously wonder if just changing that matchup to Snead on Chase, if that's enough.
Yeah. I don't know. You can't blitz him. I don't think you can blitz him. I think he showed you that if he finds one-on-one situations, even with Snead on Chase, he's going to take it. He doesn't care because he trusts his players, and rightfully so, to go make those plays because they have Chase and Higgins, who are two of the best above the rim players in the NFL already, in my opinion, in that aspect. So that's going to be interesting. If he just doesn't blitz, he didn't blitz Josh Allen very much. Maybe one or two times. Stick to that game plan. Okay. If you stick to that game plan, I think you'll be okay. And like the Raiders, they scored 26 points on the Raiders, I think. And they played just cover 3 and soft zone. If you can get a 26-point output, you're going to win this game. You're going to win this game pretty handily. And that kind of brings me to the reverse point. The Bengals corners are terrible. They're not good. Like at all. Eli Apple and I can't pronounce his name, Awuzie on the other side.
Chidobe Awuzie.
Yeah, Chidobe Awuzie are the two corners starting on the outside. Those are your matchups. You're going to get Tyreek Hill on the outside, and you're probably going to get, Travis Kelce. You can match up Travis Kelce maybe with some corners. The safeties are where they're best in the back end. They're going to play too deep. We kind of already assumed that. Every once in a while, they'll probably rotate to that single high that they did early, maybe not as often because they got burned every time they did it last game. So I think you can find those matchups with the wide receivers. Even with Byron Pringle, McCole Hardman, you find ways to get them isolated on some of these corners that don't have the long speed and aren't as good as in the hips. And I think you can find some ways to exploit this defense.
It's certainly there for the offing. I'm trying to look here real quick. Joey was their best graded player last time. He still allowed 7 completions on 8 targets.
Yeah.
So it is about that game breakability. And I will tell you this: the Bengals have been all over that last 2 minutes of the Bills game all week. When you saw the 3 verts with the in breaking route, I don't know if that was truly an in or a soft over. I don't know what they called it. But when Tyree gets the ball underneath like that, what you'll notice if you go back and watch that play is that one of the high safeties is trying to drive on that route, and he just can't make the angle. So the scary thing for me here is what you're going to see. The reaction to that for the defensive backfield for the Bengals is going to be to creep one of those safeties down to try to take away, or at least be able to make the impact and make that tackle. And when that happens, that's when Wasp works. And you go back across him deep. They will have opportunities to take more shots than they got last time. I think Tyreek was like, he had 6 catches on 9 targets for like 40 yards last time. So there will be an opportunity. I am fairly sure. You got to watch where Bates is, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, Bates is one of the best safeties in the NFL and still really underrated as a player. He's going to find some plays to break on. You know, the first interception last week against the Titans, Ryan Tannehill just hold that ball forever. And Bates is like, you're not going to throw this, right? And he did throw it. He just was like, yeah, I'm going to throw it anyway because he's too busy looking at A.J. Brown down. That's what he does. I think you can really make that your advantage. Patrick Mahomes loves to use his eyes, move safeties around. You might be able to get Bates looking at some of these plays that they run routinely over the middle of the field, maybe get him coming down and then hit him over the top with maybe a double move like we've seen from Demarcus Robinson. You can probably get down the seam with Byron Pringle, even Travis Kelce to an extent. So I think you can still manipulate them because as good as he is, there are still ways to manipulate and always move safety with your eyes. And Patrick Mahomes is already one of the best in the NFL at doing that. So I'm excited to see him, how he moves these safeties around, what he's able to do. We have one more super chat here from William. Thank you very much, William, for the support. Spags should tell Willie Gay to visualize an attack like the water boy and just pretend that Burrow is a vacuum cleaner. Visualize an attack. You know, I'm not so sure that would work necessarily for Willie, but I like the idea of just having him blitz Joe Burrow a little bit every now and then. Every quarterback can get rattled. Every single one of them. If you find a way to get a free rusher, I do think that the Chiefs are going to be better set on the outside than they were last time they played. And maybe some of those, Joe Burrow is still prone to mistakes. Okay. He still threw a good number of interceptions this year, just throwing them up. You can take advantage of some of that. So I do think in that sense that Spags will blitz because he's just that kind of guy. And Josh Allen's a much better athlete. Joe Burrow is a good pocket mover, but if you can get a free rusher on him, you're more likely to bring him down than you're not.
Well, there's a concept too that I think that they can play out of the dime where they can keep too high and play that drop down robber. It's like playing Tampa 2 in reverse, where you're dropping the middle drop down rather than running it backwards. And that allows you to make the blitzes, the things that Spags wants to do. If he replaces the DBs with the linebackers, especially if you delay Bolton, that's when Bolton screams.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some double crosses where you send Willie initially. Nick just kind of holds on. I don't care if you empty out the middle. If the tight end beats you, if the running back beats you over the middle, I'm okay with all of that. It's the outside edges. It's the holes in the too deep that are going to crush them again if they allow that to happen.
I 100% agree. And again, thank you, William, for your support. We always appreciate you being in here with us. Now, we talked a bit about some of both sides of the ball to an extent. I want to get a little bit into your defensive and offensive X factors. I'm going to start with my defensive X factor, and I think that's Frank Clark. This is the game. I know we've talked about Melvin Ingram and Chris Jones having their days. To really get after Joe Burrow, you have to go after his left side. Frank Clark is typically lined up over the left tackle, and this is going to be Jonah Williams, who had struggles last week against the Titans. Granted, they're a much better pass rushing, sack creating team than the Chiefs have been. The Chiefs are a top 5 pressure unit in the NFL. But Frank Clark in this game, who's been, he had 6 pressures last week, who's been a guy who gets postseason sacks. For me to actually win this game, it's not going to be Chris Jones and Melvin Ingram making all the plays. You have to have that third guy come in and get Joe Burrow to the ground. And Frank Clark, if he can do that, that's going to unleash everybody on this defensive line. So for me, my defensive X factor is Frank Clark.
Well, that's a good point because Harold Landry had the most pressures for the Titans last week, coming off that same position. So it certainly goes to show what can happen. I also think that the front is going to be key, but I will say this. I'm imagining that if Spags plays it the way that he should and the way that he wants to with the dime in the back, it's going to be most of the time you have to get home with 4. I think they're going to do a little bit of replacement. They're going to drop Noddy or Jaron Reed out at times. So for me, it's about replacement of that 4th. And so I think the guy who got his hands on a couple of deflection, had an interception early this season, has had a couple of other PBUs. I think Willie Gay could be the tide turner in this ballgame.
I would love to see that. I think Willie Gay getting a pick 6 in this game would be not just like game-changing type of thing, but something that we've seen him get multiple times close to in the season, and having him cap it off in the AFC Championship game with one of those would be incredible. So I as much as I think Frank Clark needs to kind of be that would be incredible to see Willie Gay actually come like full circle, being a guy who's, you know, his instincts are there and he's a little bit behind, just being there all the time. That'd be so much fun. One more super chat here from Kevin. Thank you very much, you guys, for the support. I know we have some questions in the chat, but this is a game plan, so we're gonna probably maybe touch on some of these in our answers and not always get to some of these questions, but we will make sure to get to every super chat. So thank you very much again, Kevin. I love the new gear. Any chance you will do some kind of polo shirt? I am an avid golfer and love to wear the polo with the Believe on it. That would actually be a really cool idea. I got into golfing last year, and that would be something I'd definitely wear on a golf course. So maybe Ryan can get to look in that a little bit, and we'll see what we can do on that front. Again, thank you for your support.
I will try to do that. Buster, if you're listening, I know you want me to start playing golf more. I will try. But yeah, I will definitely research some of that. Right now, the store that we're using is Teespring, and they've made some leaps. Still not happy with the ball caps yet. I'm still working on that, folks. But I will try for polos next. Thank you, Kevin, though. I appreciate you.
All right, let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Who is going to be your offensive X factor in this game?
Man, I think you have to use your stars, just like you did in the 2-minute last week, to really press this defense. But I think the guy that has an opportunity to come behind that and make the impact is McCole Hardman. I think. Oh, did I steal him? Sorry.
I've got multiple.
Okay, good. Because McColl's been running hard. He's been playing hard. Yeah. He's been making the most of his touches. And at this point, I think that it's going to start out as a shootout. I think the Chiefs will pull away late, but I think it will be tight in the first half. And at that point, it's going to be about who has the best matchup. They're going to give that attention to Tyreek and Kelsey. I think it is going to come down to either him or whoever you say next.
I think that, it's funny. I really thought that Hardman can have a legitimate breakout game in this AFC Championship game. We've seen how in the big moments that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce can still break a game open. I think that's going to be so prevalent in the Bengals' mind that they're going to have to get even more attention on them. And that's why I think that Hardman could be. But even in that sense, this Bengals front 4 and linebacker crew is not the best really with power run game. I think zone, they can come in and break some things up. But when you get them moving, and this offensive line we've seen can get even the best defensive lines moving in the opposite direction. Specifically, the Y insert run they ran last week with Clyde a couple different times, bringing Blake Bell into that A gap and just letting him choose which way to go, can it really blow everything up? Because if you have to start accounting for a run game that's either Clyde or Jerick McKinnon that can break off 20, 25-yard runs whenever they want to run a power run like that, that's going to completely tip this thing on its shoulders. So my X factor would be the run game in this sense, because you can actually run for maybe 200 yards in this game if the Bengals say, we're not going to let you throw the ball deep. We're not going to really do much of that, but we're going to be very, very, very open in the middle and then just let you run. I think they can actually rack up a ton of rushing yards in this game. So for me, I think the offensive X factor could also be the run game.
I am totally here for the offset eye double wham inside power. Yeah. That's what I'm here for, because Noah Gray, I think, has been a little bit more effective than you think. You put him and Bell in there and they get that crisscross with Burton leading the way. It's all over. McKinnon will jitterbug outside that and it's gone.
They did so much good. They did so much good running, and Clyde had exactly what we thought he should be doing: is running some of those inside powers and then sucking in those linebackers. He did it with Tremaine Edmonds, who's been in the league for like 4 years. Logan Wilson's a good young linebacker. You can easily manipulate him into some of those, just sucking him in a little bit and bouncing it off for 20. I think they can finally find a way to do that. So yeah, I would love to see this game kind of turn on its head and just have the Chiefs run all over them. It'd be interesting. We do have one more super chat here from Chad. Again, thank you very much, Chad. You're always so supportive and in here every single night. Very much appreciate that. Matthew is on the injury report. It's questionable. But he was a full participant in practice. Don't you have to clear concussion protocol for full practice? No, the full to be a full practice participant is still the step 5 in the concussion protocol sense. So when Andy Reid is talking about how he is very confident, they're pretty much playing it close to the chest because the last 2 days he's been in the very last step of the concussion protocol. So he's practicing in full, and I expect him on Saturday through the walkthrough, assuming no setbacks, is that he will be activated for this game, but they're just kind of playing it a little close to the chest.
Yeah, you think of it as hurdles. He's cleared 4 of the 5 hurdles. This last one is that you no longer have symptoms after you're running around, because just the act of running can jostle the brain inside the cranium, and that's something that they watch for the concussions very well. I do believe that he's on track. I think Andy would not be putting it out there if he wasn't. There's one thing to be, gamesmanship and keeping your opponent guessing. There's another thing to play around with this concussion stuff. The league is very frowned upon if you start, lying or teasing about that. So I expect him to play. We'll know a little bit more tomorrow. I don't know what you're going to be doing tomorrow, Dan. I'll be running around with kid activities all day. So if I get notice, maybe we'll jump on here real quick and let you all know.
Early in the morning, I'll be free, but after my daughter wakes up from her nap, we're going to be driving down to Kansas City to get some stuff done. But we'll see what happens. So again, thank you very much, Chad, for your support. Always very much appreciated. Now, this is really getting to the end of this, and I want to get to prediction time, okay? This is their 4th straight AFC Championship game. Not to be taken lightly. The success that they've had should not be, by any stretch, taken for granted. And I just wanted to remind everybody that this kind of thing doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Andy Reid is the only coach to do it twice now. So Andy Reid is a different kind of guy. This game, I think, can get out of hand for the Bengals in a hurry. But I know you think it's going to be close early. I think the Chiefs are going to jump out to a lead much like they did in the first game, because I don't think that the Bengals defense can adjust the same way that the Chiefs defense can. One guy beat them in that first game. Everybody beat them in that first game on offense. And then they just kind of, to me, it felt like they just put off the gas. They just said, we're done kind of scoring. And I believe that they're going to get out and want to really put an end to this whole, the Chiefs didn't play badly in the second half of the game, which I didn't understand was a notion being put out there until 2 days ago. If not like anybody watched the game or anything, but the Chiefs just didn't play very well in the second half at all. Mistakes, penalties, all that kind of stuff. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game outright, 38-24, a little bit of a late push from the Bengals.
I like the idea of the late thing. I hope that you're right. I kind of feel like it's going to be a slugfest the first half. Back and forth and back and forth. I said it last night and I'll say it again. You can't shut down Jamar Chase. I've gone so far, and Croc will yell at me on the Locked On Draft show. The Jamar Chase is one of the top 5 receivers in this league right now as a rookie. He's that good. But you can limit him, and that's really all that it comes down to. If they're able to do that, I think it's a pretty tight game going into halftime. I expect the Chiefs to get the ball in the second half, regardless of whether they win the toss or not. Because I think if you're the Bengals, you want to get out to a lead. Yeah. So I do think they will take the ball if given the opportunity as well. So it comes down to, how do you make your adjustments? And we didn't see Specs adjust last time. He's had a lot of time to go over that film. And I think that, I think he'll come in with a better game plan, particularly around Chase, but I think he'll be able to adjust at halftime a little bit more as well. So I see it kind of down the stretch, like the Chiefs build a lead, and it's the Bengals that are coming back at the end. I don't see it quite as high scoring for you. I give a little bit more credit to the defense, knock on wood. I see the Chiefs pulling it out, but I think they have to stave off, and the Bengals fail in a last-minute drive, and the Chiefs win 31-27.
I mean, it doesn't matter, honestly. I would love to see the defense actually just show up in a game for the postseason. The Steelers were not much of a threat. The Bills were different. Matthew didn't play most of the game. I think they personally got a little bit lucky that the Bills didn't actually start throwing the ball immediately. That was a very weird revelation, just holistically. But if everyone's healthy in this game, the defense has a chance to come out and actually play well. And I think that Rashad Fenton can have a very positive impact. We don't want to see Mike Hughes on the field all that much at all. And no offense, Mike, it's not your fault. It's just you're not as good on the outside. And I think we've kind of seen that over the course of the last couple of weeks. And to no fault of his own, he's been put in some situations he's been able to not get out of. So T. Higgins is a problem. And I think that he would lose that matchup all day.
I was going to say, I think Mike Hughes is a gamer. And I think he might want to bowl up. You know what I mean? Like I could see him playing an improved game. But at this particular team with these three receivers that are just so physical, I think it's a really big stretch. And we're not trying to run down Mike Hughes.
No.
Not at all. And info, I know you have a lot of questions. You had a couple of good points. Mitch Schwartz does still have pain. I just wanted to address that one. As I understand it, I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon. And yes, losing Ryan Poles is a deficit, but it's not about this game that will come down the line. Ryan Poles is going to build, I think, a pretty good staff in Chicago, so you can get used to that. But the Chiefs have a lot of talent waiting to rise up their interior ranks as well.
When you're a team like this, you have to be able to replace good people with good people. Otherwise, you're really kind of finding yourself in a no-win situation. I think the Chiefs have built this organization from the ground up. When Andy Reid got here, he surrounded himself with great people he knew would find ways to rise up. Hopefully that just keeps happening, and we keep seeing this as a continuation. You're always going to have guys picked off of your team and your organization when you're winning. This is what happens when you have a winning team. So I'm excited about the trajectory of this team. This is, like I said, the fourth straight AFC Championship game. I'm looking forward to this game. Our predictions are out there for you guys. I have it 38-24. Ryan has it
31-27.
31-27. 4-point
Both
game.
Chiefs victories.
That would be a very interesting, stressful game. I would just say. I can't. It's almost 400 of you in here tonight on a Friday night. We appreciate you guys so much. I can't begin to describe. I know that Friday nights are always a bit interesting with family and getting out, and just appreciate you all being here with us tonight. This is it. Another chance to go for that second Super Bowl victory now in 3 years. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, this team can actually go down in history as one of the greatest ever if they go on to win this game and find themselves back in it. So history is on the table here, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you, Ryan.
Oh, that's kind of an understatement. And I do want to say to anyone in the front office who happens to be watching this, I'm glad you made it this far. I doubt that actually happens, but I've heard rumors of other things. I am available for consulting. I know that Ryan Holes is a hole that you need to fill, but I'm happy to be the low man on the totem pole. And also thanks to our sponsors, DraftKings. Use that code RGR21 if you want to get into the sports book. It's a team that no matter what, win, lose, or draw, and we will be here with you post game, folks. Probably about 5-10 minutes after the ball game ends. So be here for that. This team is on an extraordinary roll, and to have this much contribution from rookies, I mean, between Creed, Bolton, and Trey, it's been incredible. I've done about 15 hits across the nation this week. Creed Humphrey is the topic more so than you would think for a center in their rookie year. There's a lot of conversation. They've had a successful season. I think they can do this and go back to the Super Bowl. And if they do, I feel really confident about whatever matchup that they make. This might be the more difficult matchup. Yeah, so remember that as you're watching this ball game.
All right, everybody. You enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Ryan and I are going to I might go have myself a beer. He's still drinking his beer. Maybe he has another one. Who knows? It is Friday night. All right. Again, thank you guys so much for your support. Hopefully this is going to be, when we see you guys next on Sunday, we're hoping that this is going to be another fun-filled live stream for you guys. make sure to tune in. Win or lose, we will be here for you guys on Sunday night, or probably Sunday afternoon.
Fun or fire, one or the other, right?
Yeah, right. Just a couple more days now, and then it's AFC Championship time. So you guys have yourselves a great night. Go Chiefs.